I cracked myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's.
That's different. I really like that.
They're like together, like peas and carrots. That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or pachods or pachaw.
This is not what I expected.
How's it going, everybody? It is Thursday, and it's time for the Bourbcast, and we are continuing our Bottled and Bond series. We've been doing this all month. We got one more week after this one to do Bottled and Bond, and tonight it's going to be the 1792 Bottled and Bond. Let's go ahead and, this is a fresh crack, so we're going to go ahead and get this poured. Another fresh crack that I've never had before, brand new to me. I'm going to leave that cork off because that's what I do. Aren't you glad to be done with the primary election? We don't talk politics all that often here, but all the mailings and all the commercials and all the money that gets spent on that stuff. Golly. Holy cow, it's over for a little while. Everybody that won primaries, well, not everybody, some people that won primaries are going to be up against challengers for the November general election, so this is going to start all over again here shortly. But for now, we can just sit back, relax, have a little drink, and shake it off. All right, let's get into this just a little bit here. All right, this is 1792 Bottled and Bond. By the way, I had a dream last night that was horrific. It was terrible. I dreamt that, like, one after the other, I was breaking my Glencairns. And I remember I broke the last one, and I was, like, totally bummed, but at the same time, I remembered that I just bought a bunch more. So, a little reality crept into my dream life. But, yeah, I was a clumsy fool and kept dropping all of my Glencairn glasses. Stupid. Anyway, so that was the nightmare I had last night. I thought I would share that with you. Okay. All right. So this is 1792 Bottled and Bond. This is a product of Sazerac, which is the same people that own Buffalo Trace, but that is not Buffalo Trace distillate. This is Barton distillate. The 1792 small batch is it's not very much money. It's, I don't know, $30, something like that. And it's allocated in the state of Ohio. It's getting tougher and tougher to find, and definitely tougher and tougher to buy. You can only buy one bottle at a time for whatever reason. But anyhow, so this is Sazerac Barton, 1792 distillery. Generally, this is about $40 a bottle. I've seen it as low as $25, and I've seen it as much as $60 throughout my my research online. Let's see. This bottle is released once a year. The Bottled and Bond is okay, so we'll get into this. It needs to be 4 years to be Bottled and Bond. It can be more than that. But this is released once a year in the fall. This started in 2017, and it continues to be released annually one time. It's 100 proof, which is only marginally more than the small batch. The small batch is at 93.7 proof. So we'll see how different this really is. You might argue that the small batch might be aged the same length, or maybe a little longer, maybe not as long. I don't know. They don't say. They don't say what the age statement is. So, let's see. Now, Bottled and Bond Very Old Barton is a 6-year. And they're very similar. So it could be argued that this one is going to sit somewhere between 4 and 6 years on the shelf, or in the barrel, before it's bottled. So the mash bill is called a high-rye. Now, my personal feeling about high-rye starts at 18% rye. They're saying that this one is somewhere between 15 and 25% rye, but I did find one website that I suppose guessed that this one is 75% corn, 15% rye, and 10% malted barley. So once again, let's get back into what Bottled and Bond is, and that is this. To be labeled Bottled and Bond, the whiskey must be the product of one distillation season and one distiller at a single distillery, aged in a federally bonded warehouse under U.S. government supervision for at least 4 years, and it must be bottled at exactly 100 proof. Additionally, the Bottled and Bond label must clearly identify the distillery where it was distilled and where it was bottled, if that is different. There we go. So now you have it. Again, this started hitting shelves in the fall of 2017, continues to hit the shelves annually, and we're going to give it a shot. We're going to try it out. We're going to see if it's any good. Nate watching. Hey, Nate. I'm sorry, I'm still tired. I'm just so tired. The last few weeks have just been grueling, and now I can't talk. Anyway, thank you for watching, Nate. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. All right. Give us a little bit of air. Still can't talk. Yesterday I had stuff to do. I was out late. I thought I might sleep in, and no, I didn't. This morning I did. This morning I slept. I've been sitting around all day, and I'm still tired. Okay. Really nice cinnamon and dark caramel notes. There's a raisin. I'm going to say there's a sweet side to that raisin. There's a little bit of plum in here. I know that's not the same fruit. Raisin is a grape. A prune would be a plum. Doesn't smell like prunes. There's even a very, very slight mint. Actually, it's pretty pronounced. Now that I've got a hold of it, all I smell is the mint. Hey, Nate. I'm glad you're here. Just a very, very slight astringency. Yeah, that dark caramel and those fruit notes and that. Now I'm starting to get away from the mint, so I'm trying to think of other things. But if there was a finish, like legs on the nose, the mint is what holds on. It's just sticking around like luggage. All right. It's really a robust nose. It's not timid. You don't have to shove your nose down in the glass to find it. It's actually quite nice. There's a slight floral side to it as well. But that's really in the back. All right. Tom's watching. Hey. How you doing? Bill's watching. Hey, Bill. How are you? Everybody's coming on board. We're doing the 1792 bottled and bond. We just gave it the nose. It's got a slight mint to it. Really nice caramel note, a darker caramel. There's a floral note of some sort in there. I can't find it. I don't know what it is. There's a little bit of a fruit note. I'm calling it raisins and maybe a little plum because there's a sweet side to it as well. Really a very robust, spicy nose. So the spicy stuff is where I think I'm getting the higher rye. They're saying that this could be between a 15 and 25% rye. The other website I found said 15%. That is not what I would consider a high rye. So it's possible that the mash bill that I found that says it's 15% rye is incorrect. Because my nose is telling me, because of the spiciness I'm getting here, that it might be a higher rye. We're about to find out. All right. Cheers. Very nice bloom. It's only a few points higher in proof than the small batch. But it's a difference. It makes a difference. That 100 proof here is a lot warmer than the 93.7 proof small batch. Small batch is easier to drink. This one has got a real bite to it. That bloom is really nice. It coats the tongue and just continues to grow. It's not a slow grow, but it's not a fast grow. It just does its thing, and it does it well. It kind of stayed in the center of the tongue mostly, but it did find its way out and about as well. Didn't need to put a leash on it. It behaved quite nicely. Very, very nice bloom on that. Now, the legs on the bloom, that burn, went away pretty quickly. I did my big old schwaller, and then that bloom very quickly dissipated. So you keep it on the tongue, you're going to feel it, and then it's going to be gone. All right, let's see if we can explore some flavors here. Takes my breath away, not a fan of the burn. I used to be that way. I mean, the intro to the show shows me drinking Stag Junior at the time, and there's been a couple of those that have been like that. This one is close. This one is this close to me going, because it's got some warmth. This is a warm one. It's not as warm as some of the other bottled and bonds that we've tried in this series, but for 100 proof, it's standing up and saying hello, which I kind of like. So somebody's texting me. They want me to go fishing. They're going to have to wait. And then they're going to have to come pick me up because, So anyway, I expect him to call me and want to go fishing. Nate, you can appreciate that. Somebody wants to go, you want to go fishing, right? And they don't answer you right away. You're on the phone. Come on. It's too nice. Let's go. All right. Let's give it another one here. On the third pass, that bloom is obviously a lot more sedate. It doesn't hit you. Nate, if that takes your breath away on the first one, do it again. Hold it for 10 seconds. Do it again. Hold it for 10 seconds. Third time, it may not hit you so hard. You might be able to get some of those flavors out. So let's talk about the flavors. The flavors of this are very similar to the nose. However, the higher rye content, and I do think it's higher than 15. It may not be even much higher than 18, but I think it's more than 15% just based on that spicy quality of it. But imagine you take the nose and then all that scent, all that body, all that everything, and then you just take that volume dial and turn it down just a little bit. That's kind of like what I'm getting on the palate. The mouth feels fantastic. The bloom is fantastic. The flavors are not as punchy as they are as the nose is. So I'm getting a lot of the same notes. I'm getting the caramels. I'm not getting any mint. I'm getting cinnamon, of course, a little bit of raisin, a lot of those same type notes. But again, you just dial it down a little bit. If this is all the way up to 10, this is down to maybe 7 or 8. A lot of similarities, just not quite as much on the palate. And again, this is a fresh crack, so this is going to open up, and it may provide me with more flavor going down the road than it is now. The flavors are nice. It's just not quite as robust as the nose on this. If they were as robust on the nose, I'd be wondering if it's still Barton distillate, because I love the 1792, but it's not something that I would consider to be a complex pour. I wouldn't call this a complex pour either. However, if the nose matched the palate, I'd say, darn, this is a complex pour. Just like that. I'd say it just like that. Hunky-dory. You should be out here, homie. That burn can be part of a great experience with bourbon. I do not know where you are. I have no idea where you are. So out here, are you in the driveway? I don't know. Okay, so let's. I'm going to pour just a little bit more here, and then we're going to go to the water test. I don't want to go too crazy on this because it only comes out once a year, and I do actually like it. And I mean, 1792 small batch, even though it's allocated now, I can still get it. This only comes out once a year, so I'm not going to want to empty this bottle all that quick because it's better than I thought it would be. I like it. Put a little water in there. Hey, Joel, how are you? Kansas, Colorado board. All right, well, cool. Great. So you're out in Kansas. When Aaron goes to Kansas, it's, I mean, like literally in the middle of nowhere. It's hours before you're at the next town, and he's out coyote hunting. And they had a blast last year when they went, and so they had to go again. They say that the roads are so bad that if it rains, if they flood, you're stuck where you are. You're not driving through that. You got to wait till it recedes before you can even go to the store, a restaurant, doctor's office. I don't know. Some of that really appeals to me. That whole idea of just getting a big sky country, right? That's what they call it, where you can look up and there's no light pollution at all. That appeals to me. But if I cut my finger off and I need medical attention, I want to be able to get there pretty quick. And if it's raining, that ain't happening. So, Aaron doesn't know what he's talking about. Normally he doesn't. No, I'm joking. Aaron is a knowledgeable feller. But his thoughts on bourbon are a little different than mine. Although, as he has gone along in his whiskey journey, like we like to call it, his palate has matured. So, you can give him that. Oh, shoot, I forgot to do something. So, Sunday was St. Patrick's Day. And I bought a bottle just to do a special St. Patrick's Day Bourbcast. And I didn't do it. One of those days, I just didn't feel like it. I did not want an Irish whiskey. That's what it boiled down to. Is it was Sunday. It was the day to enjoy everything Irish, and I didn't want an Irish whiskey. I just didn't. You got to be in the mood for that. For me, I like bourbon. All right, so this has got some water in it, and I'll show you what it is, and maybe we'll still open it here. But it's the Whistler. It's not one of those big famed ones that they did through the OHLQ release where Fred Minnick came up and did his thing. No, because I wasn't aware that was going to be a separate thing than this thing. So this is kind of an expensive bottle, and that's the other thing that tears my crack about. Sorry, that was a bit graphic. That upsets me about Irish whiskey is you may spend $100 a bottle, and it's still 80 proof, and it's still mellow, and like, where is it? There's no complexity to it. There's nothing. Jameson probably has about the most complexity so far of any Irish that I've tried. I got a bunch of them back here. Although, that one I had last year, Michael Collins, was actually pretty good. That was real close to Jameson as far as complexity. So maybe we'll try this one here in a minute. Maybe we won't, because I may not be able, if it's 80 proof, I may not be able to taste it after this one. That's a fact. He's more of a White Claw guy. You're really ripping on him here. Joel, that burn you're feeling isn't from the bourbon, it's from the girls in Lima. Oh my. Okay, I probably shouldn't have read that one out loud. I would say this is a family show, keep it rated G, but I'm drinking bourbon. That's adults only. Okay, fine, now I got to get a brass pole for the place. That is not happening. That's not happening. Just making sure you understand that's not happening. All right, so this is the 1792 with water. Finally, here we go. That was only about a milliliter of water. It reduced that proof, that burn, down to about what the 1792 small batch is. Still flavorful. With some water on it, I caught some honey, which was a nice change of pace. I do like a nice note of honey on my bourbon. I didn't have it before, now it does. But you sacrifice some of that mouthfeel. It did not get better. It did not become more viscous as far as that feeling in the mouth. It got softer. If you like that, okay. And I caught a little bit of honey on it. Let's go back to it. The caramel is not as dark. It's more sweet. Cinnamons are still very pronounced, and that really has me thinking this is a higher rye than that 15% we thought. Really quite nice, actually. So the flavors are there. The burn is not. Much closer to the small batch, an open small batch. Same mash bill, though. There's not a whole lot of difference. Neither one are a single barrel. I mean, there's not a lot of difference, really. At the end of the day, they're basically the same thing. You just take a little bit of that heat off of it, and it drinks very nice. So let's move into ice now. So let me finish this. The gentleman from Albuquerque that I was talking to on YouTube had a suggestion that I start adding the small ice spheres to the Glencairn glass. Well, I made a bunch of them, and the problem is but we'll do it. We'll do it one more time. I do have a normal sized ice sphere ready, so if you want to see the gorgeous ice sphere, I'll show it to you. Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? You know, a week ago today, the area was hit with tornadoes, and 11 counties have been now declared disaster areas by the governor. The night that we were here, and we were hearing thunder outside and tornado sirens and all that stuff, our friends in Logan County at Indian Lake got hit really, really hard. I mean, really, really hard. Being a lake town, it's surrounded by campers and cottages and house trailers. You know, some people, that's their home on the lake, is their house trailer, because they don't need a whole house there. You just need a place to lay your head and a place to, you know, store your ice cubes. But the area got hit really hard, and fortunately for us and for them, the response was immediate and massive. They have an entire high school gym filled with things that the community has donated. Water and food and snacks and blankets and cots and everything that you would need. Electricity is on for most of the people now. It was restored a number of days ago, so you know, it's still devastating, but at the end of the day, you know, the response was overwhelming. So I didn't have any part in this. I'm not from Logan County. I didn't go there. I'm not in the public service. I'm nothing like that. So, but let me just tell you, on behalf of the people at Indian Lake and Russell's Point, for those of you from Ohio that are helping out, or even if you're not from Ohio and you're helping out, thank you for that, because they got smacked, which is unusual for an Ohio tornado. I mean, we get hit, but we don't get hit like that. I was a EF3. I think that said the winds are 145 to 150 some miles an hour. It's incredible. And it was a wedge-style cloud, so it was wide. So anyhow, that was a week ago today. We had the whole family down here last week, and then some. So, but you know, here we are just enjoying a nice bourbon and listening to the thunder outside and the sirens, and other people were, well, they're losing their lives. I understand that we lost 6 in that tornado. So they stayed in their trailers, or they stayed in their campers, or they stayed wherever they stayed. And I don't know the whole story with everybody, and I don't know if they're all storm related, but our hearts go out to the families of those affected, not only from loss of life, but loss of property and everything else. So, all right. Okay. Hey, Mitch is watching. Okay, Aaron and Joel. Maybe you just want to take some private time for yourselves. Just saying. All right, so the downside to these tiny spheres, which Aaron and Joel probably know a lot about, these tiny, tiny balls. The downside is they melt a lot faster. So this is probably going to be a little bit on the diluted side, a lot like Aaron and Joel. And but it's going to be cold. I mean, I could feel it on the glass. This is really cold. Okay, so okay. All right, the good news is that if you wanted to put this in a cocktail, don't put this in a cocktail. But if you wanted to, it would hold up. Drink it how you like it, right? But this comes out once a year. You want to put it in the cocktail? No. But I say that about most of what I drink. Don't use this in a cocktail. There's something else you could use that's just as good and a lot cheaper and a lot more available and blah, 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 blah. So I tend to like this. I know people that can't drink bourbon without ice cubes in it, whether it's flavor or tolerance or heartburn. There's a lot of reasons why people add ice to their bourbon. I do it because of the experiment. So if you wanted to do this and put it on a cocktail, you could. It would hold up. That's the good news. All right. Now, sorry, Joel. Sometimes I am still a dude. So sometimes I got to jump in the fray and have a little fun myself. If I can't be there with y'all, then I can be there in spirit. And that means, you know, getting you guys from way over nya while you guys are over nya. Okay? All right. Now. I know that was obnoxious. But some of my audience is obnoxious tonight too, so why not? All right, I need spectacles to get this out of here. It's a complex box. Aaron, Joel, you keep that to yourselves. There we go. There's like this thing here that the neck went through, so this is the Whistler. I know nothing about it because I completely forgot what in the hand that I even had it. This is a single malt Irish whiskey, finished in PX Sherry Hogshead. Comes from the Boan Distillery in Meath, Ireland. Single Cask series. The Whistler Single Cask series is the epitome of the finest casks of Whistler whiskey from our warehouses. Every cask is unique, and they highlight the fantastic flavors of our whiskeys that are not otherwise found in our core expression. Every single cask is bottled in extremely limited and numbered quantities. Highly collectible, these expressions will be noted as true treasures. Start a whole new Goonies movie with this. For those of you too young for the Goonies, I weep for your generation. Okay. Highly collectible, these expressions will be noted as true treasures. Their music will be rarely heard. The Whistler. That's why they call it the music. Okay. Oh, so this is 56.17% alcohol. So unlike a lot of Irish whiskeys, this one is over 100 proof. Echo, what is 56.17 times 2?
56.17 times 2 is 112.34.
112.34. Hey, Shala's watching. How are you? Sounds like my wife chewing ice. Brad's watching. How are you? Brad says, head down to southern Louisiana, LaPlace, for Sazerac rye single barrel for $20 a bottle. Huh. Okay. It's a long trip for a bottle of rye. All right. I know, I should have done this on Sunday. I'm sorry I didn't. But let's get it out of the way now. 112 proof. Yeah. And it's a 700 milliliter. It's not 750. So that just goes back to reinforce the fact that it's not an Ohio or U.S. product. I'm glad you're here, Shala. Thank you for watching. Okay, Aaron and Joel, there are women present, so mind your manners. Okay? All right, let's give this a try. So far, again, with the Irish whiskeys, I have found that I really enjoy the Jameson. Duh. I really like the Tullamore Dew. The Michael Collins, I liked a lot. I've got a bunch of them back here. Those are the ones that stand out. The Sexton was okay. The McConnell's was okay. There's some that, you know, like everybody talks about Redbreast, and I was really not in love with Redbreast at all. So expensive, 80 proof pour. I don't get it. But we'll see what this one does. All right. Ooh. Before I get too close into this thing, that nose is interesting. Wow. Compared to the 1792 bourbon, this had peanuts all over it. I brought that up, and it was like peanut brittle, you know, that sweet, goodness gracious, what a difference. Now that I'm getting into it, it's less peanut butter brittle, but that was the first thing I got. It was like, it's very sweet. Peanut brittle. I mean, it's not as heavy as it was, and that's the first thing that I got, but goodness gracious. That's got to be that cask. That sherry cask. Yeah, peanut brittle. I mean, that's the predominant. There's a little bit of a... There's like a chewing gum note. It's not minty. It's... I don't know, like cotton candy, maybe, something. This is... Irish whiskey's weird. A little bit of the oak from the barrel. Creme brulee. Brown sugar. Boy, vanillas. Wow. Golly, that's sweet. I'm gonna get a sugar problem just smelling this. All right, let's try it now. This needs to be tried on its own, not after having 1792. There's things I like about it. There's other parts of it I don't like. Like, compared to the 1792, it's like I just licked a dumpster. Ate out of the bottom of my dishwasher. That's what it reminds me of. I know that's not complimentary at all. These are some of the worst reviews I've ever given. And it's not even that bad. It's kind of tasty. But if you have to compare it to the 1792 bottled and bond, it's not complimentary. Okay. All right. I actually like the flavors of this. It's not as complex as the Jameson or Tullamore Dew. Just have to go back to it. Okay, that was better. When you don't have to fight the flavors with the 1792, it gets better. The feeling on the mouth is actually nice for an Irish whiskey. It's a little bit thin, but the bloom is nice. It kind of holds right on the end of my tongue. No, it's not like you're licking a dumpster. It's not. You just can't. You can't have it with something else. You can't compare this to anything else. It is what it is. You could probably compare it to other Irishes, but not to this. Let's put this away. All right. I should have done this on its own on Sunday. I'm sorry I didn't. That's not fair to this. I should have done it on its own. All right. What am I missing here? What's that supposed to mean? Wild Wally Mike Schneider is watching. Hey, well, I don't even know what to call you. We'll call you Mike. Is it Wally or Walleye, like fish? Because you need another E on there if it's going to be... This is not the time and the place to be a grammar Nazi, okay? Stop it. This is not an argument between the spellings of there, and there. Just drink. All right. One more. All things considered, this is pretty nice, really. I would have to put this back to Jameson, but the flavors in this are really, really nice. There is some complexity thanks to that extra barrel that it's in, and being 112 proof doesn't hurt it. I will tell you, the 1792 at 100 proof is hotter than this one is. But that would be that rye content in it, whereas this is a single malt, which means it's almost entirely, probably is entirely, malted barley. But the flavors on this are actually really nice. If you don't love Irish whiskey, you might like this one. And I looked at some of the other ones that OHLQ is bringing in as part of their big Irish whiskey thing. This was $100. That's a lot for an Irish whiskey. Although, this is pretty good for an Irish whiskey. Some of those other ones were still 80 proof, and I'm not in love with spending $100 on an 80 proof Irish whiskey. You got to really impress me. And had I gone to some of the events, I may have been able to attend a tasting or something like that, and maybe my opinion will be skewed if I had them. But just to look at them in the store going, no, I ain't spent, no, I'm not spending, no, not on Irish, no. Although this was close to $100, so yeah, it's actually pretty good. I will try this again on another day before I do something else. But here's what we're doing. Next week we're finishing up the Bottled and Bond series with this one right here. This is Jeff the Creed. This is one I had to travel to get because it's not available all over the state. It's only available in a few places. This is the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It is Shelbyville, Kentucky, Jeff the Creed, 100 proof rye bourbon. So it's not a wheat bourbon, it's a rye bourbon. Mash bill, bottled and bond, featuring our estate-grown bloody butcher corn. I will tell you more about that next week when we get into this one as we finish out the Bottled and Bond series. Thank you for being here with me. There's a lot of things you can do on a beautiful, sunny Thursday night, and you chose to spend your time here with me, and I appreciate it. And we will do it again next Thursday at 7 o'clock on Beautiful Bourbon. We are on YouTube. That subscriber base is very slowly growing, but steadily growing, and I'm grateful for that. We're at 265, I think, as of today, which is cool. We got more than double that on Facebook. So if you like this stuff, share it. Share it on here, share it on YouTube, let people know that we're here and that you had a good time watching and maybe you learned a thing or two. That last part is doubtful. But why not? Right? All right, we will see you next week as we close out the Bottled and Bond series with Jeff the Creed. You guys have a great week, and we will see you later.